Michelle Nicolini in the white has a bite on the ankle, and she's playing here in a butterfly ashi style guard. Now she's going to start to extend the opponent with her butterfly hook and then also start to use her left leg as well as she improves her bite on the ankle. While extending, she applies a slight twist to bring her opponent's heel to her ribs. Now she's going to remove that butterfly hook, go to irimi ashi or single leg X, and she's going to drop her shoulder and start to hip into that ankle lock. Now as her opponent tries to step over, she turns with it and she ends up in a belly down ankle lock, which is the strongest one. Her opponent has a grip on Michelle's reaping leg and she starts to turn it open. But that's when Michelle takes her left hand, assists, and starts to bite on that heel as she turns all the way. So watch here as the opponent starts to flare the knee open. Michelle bites that heel hook. So I want you guys to notice how Michelle Nicolini was able to expose her opponent's heel while being completely on her side. She never turns on her back to expose the heel like you see a lot of times. So here's Craig Jones speaking on that exact same subject.
There are some people that talk about how you want to like reach for the Achilles, and you want to rotate and come out this side. But again, I don't necessarily like that. I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with it. I don't like that because I'm turning the way that my opponent could potentially, especially when it's slippery, rip his leg out, run out, clear this knee line. I want to expose the heel while we're on the side here.
And that's exactly what we see from Michelle Nicolini here. As Michelle's opponent flares her knee to the outside angle like that, she wants to hide her heel either on the floor or do a heel slip. But watch here, it's amazing. Watch as Nicolini hips in, and that allows her to get a nice angle on the heel. This is a nice way of exposing the heel without having to turn all the way to the inside. Now notice that Michelle's biting the heel in the crook of her elbow, not on her wrist, which means that instead of gable grip, the optimal grip to take here is a butterfly grip. There are two conflicting thoughts about exposing the heel for the outside heel hook. One is that turning inside or onto your butt can actually help the opponent to escape. But the second idea says that turning inside and onto your butt prevents you from being able to do a heel slip. So I'm going to let Eddie Cummings and Craig Jones explain it themselves because they're going to explain it way better than I can.
What I want to think about is the line my ankle, knee, and hip make. Okay, so I'm going to visualize a line between my ankle and my hip. And for an outside heel hook, defensively, I want my knee to be outside that line. When my knee is inside that line, this is when I get hurt. This is when I have a problem. If I bring my knee outside that line, I'm going to be safe and I'm going to start the beginning of the movement we're learning here, which is a heel slip. But it's critically important my knee come outside first before anything.
Because your opponent's going to put this part of his foot on the floor. He doesn't want to have his heel in the air because he's exposing it himself, right? So there are some people that talk about how you want to like reach for the Achilles, and you want to rotate and come out this side. But again, I don't necessarily like that. I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with it. I don't like that because I'm turning the way that my opponent could potentially, especially when it's slippery, rip his leg out, run out, clear this knee line. I want to expose the heel while we're on the side here.
So what I found really interesting is that Eddie Cummings says that he wants to keep his knee on the outside line, which basically means flared outwards. But that's exactly where Craig Jones wants the knee to be positioned for his heel hook. So when we think about it defensively as well, Eddie Cummings says that if you get your leg turned to the inside, if your knee starts to go past that line, right, that's where you're in deep trouble. But Craig Jones is saying that he doesn't want the opponent's knee to be turned inside like that because that's where they can start to escape. He says especially when it's like sweaty. So those two conflicting ideas are just very interesting. And I'm not a big heel hooker, so I'm not sure where most people stand, what you would think about that, but that was just really fascinating. Her opponent's going to defend. She's going to start to bring her knee up and start to stand. Now her foot's on the floor, meaning her heel is not exposed, but what is? Her foot is still exposed. So watch now as Michelle Nicolini transitions again. She still has a reap on the knee from the heel hook, and she's going to start to turn into that toe hold. Her opponent's going to go with the turn, but Michelle Nicolini's just going to roll right back through, and she's going to start to bring that toe all the way to her opponent's butt, and that's where you get real pressure, and she gets the tap. So let's look at this amazing sequence in full speed. So there it is, the ankle lock, belly down, bends the knee, switches to a heel hook, starts to turn the other way. Opponent stands up to defend, but she gives up the toe hold, so she turns into it, rolls through, and brings the foot to the butt.